Hello and welcome back to the S&S Football Podcast. We are back again after a week away. Well, I say a week away. After a week, we'll do our weekly game week reviews now. So we're back to sort of review the last game week and yet again give our predictions for the upcoming sort of double game week. There's a midweek game week, and there's also one at the weekend as well. So a lot of predictions to get through. We're going to crack straight on. But before we do so, if you're watching and you are not subscribed, what are you doing? Please make sure you hit the subscribe button and like the video as well. Share the video as well. And follow our Twitter for football news. And especially in the transfer windows, there's loads and loads of transfer news going on there. A little bit quiet now, but we will keep it updated here and there. So make sure you do all that good stuff. And we will carry on into it. Once again, I'm joined by Morgan. So, Morgan, I'll add you in, mate. How are you?
All right, thank you. After Saturday's events, clearly the Villa team listened to my explicit rant. But yeah, I'm all right. Thanks, mate.
Good, mate. I'm good to hear it. At least your team won at the weekend. I guess we can say that. Although our goal won, so I'd take that. But unfortunately, the unbeaten record's over as we did lose, I think, 3-0 to Peterborough. I think it was a couple of days after we put the last stream out. So that was great fun. We'll kick straight off. If you are watching, please do list any questions you have over the previous game weeks on football in general in the comments. We will get to them. We will talk about them. It can be thoughts on players, on games, on decisions, on anything. Even what's Morgan's favourite meal deal. So please do let us know and in the comments, and we will get to them. We will start with the early kickoff on the weekend. Man City 2, West Ham 1. Now, this is a game, I think I said 2-1 West Ham. I might have gone 1-0, I can't remember. It was going to be a close game, I think. Even the firepower that City have got, West Ham were in some incredible form. But I think City, they got through that game, with a little bit of clinical finishing for a couple of their defenders. And, West Ham could possibly have got maybe more out of their game.
Yeah, I think Man City are in a situation now where it's only a matter of time before they win the league. Let's be honest, and I think this was a potential banana skin. This is a game week that I think Man United would have looked on and gone, do you know what? We've got Chelsea. If we can win that game, City have got West Ham. There may be a slip up there. But at the end of the day, it was a bit, if I'm going to be honest, I think it was a bit of a routine Man City win. West Ham gave them a good game, but there's only really one real winner in this one. And when you've got two centre-backs, the quality of Stones and Ruben Diaz, and you've got a player like Kevin De Bruyne that can whip in the type of delivery that he can, it's only a matter of time before they get the goals. So they don't need their forwards to score anymore. And they've played the whole season with that centre forward. It's so impressive what they've done. And unfortunately, I think that's as good as the league over for me.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk more about that later and sort of United as well. But quick comment in HG. Hi, guys. Thank you for tuning in, mate. And like I said, any questions you got, please list them in the comments. We will get to them. So I appreciate you tuning in. On City and on sort of the league, as much as I hate to say as a United fan, I think the league is now done. I know I said before the Chelsea game, if United won it, in my opinion, if United had won the Chelsea game, you couldn't have called the title race over, because I think it would have been 10 points. We still would have had to have played City. And And in this season, anything could happen. But after the Chelsea result, for me, I think the title is done, like you mentioned, and that's hard to say because you don't expect a team to break away this early on in a season. I know Liverpool did it last year, but with everyone else, you've obviously had Liverpool go a little bit down, sort of downhill. Tottenham haven't really lived up to it, so it's disappointing to say. But back to City, they're an absolute machine at the minute. You can't distribute what they've done. I mean, it's unbelievable, to be honest. And Pep is doing a magnificent job without a centre forward, like you said.
I think the most important thing about Man City is that any player that comes into that side, they just do the business. Like Cancelo didn't even play in this game, and he's probably been one of their players of the season. And they can just drop him. Give him a rest. Kyle Walker can come in, who can be rash at times, but he's a quality proven Premier League player who can just slot in, put in a really good performance and get him the win. And as well, Foden hasn't been playing the last few games. He's had a bit of a rest on the bench as well. So look, I think City are just remarkable, and you compare it to what we were saying about them at the start of the season. I think Pep Guardiola he deserves so much credit because the way that he's reinvented himself, and this team looks pretty formidable at the moment. We have to be honest. They're doing similar to Liverpool last year, where they're just finding results. And this was a game that they found the result. They weren't magnificent in this game. West Ham gave them a good game, but title contenders or title winners win this game, regardless of form. They win these type of games, especially at home. So City are just showing that, let's be honest, they're going to win the league. And these are the sort of games that will get them over the line. Because West Ham at the moment are about as good as anyone that could have went to the Etihad and got something. I can't really see anyone else giving them a good enough game there this season.
No, definitely. We'll talk a little bit about West Ham. Obviously, a narrow defeat against, 90%, the champions. Surely they won't take too much of a knock from this. I mean, a 2-1 loss against City. I mean, I've seen the video of Kufau after the game looking absolutely devastated. I think that also shows the mentality of their team. They'll pick themselves up from this one. They'll just carry on because it's not the worst result. It's not like they got pumped 5-0 or anything, and all the sales gone. All the wins gone from their sales. It's just, it's just a little bump in the road for West Ham in this case, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it shows how far West Ham have come, that they've actually gone to the Etihad and genuinely believed that they could get a result, regardless of City's winning run. And I think that, West Ham have been so good this season. I can't stress enough how brilliant they've been. And, to still be in the top 4 after losing that game just shows how well they've done this season. And look, they've got more than enough quality because for me, they are the best. They are the best team outside of Man City, Man United, Leicester, and Chelsea this year. For me, they are the 5th best team in the Premier League. I think that the top 4 is going to be, as I've just said, Man City, United, Leicester, and Chelsea. But I think West Ham will probably finish 5th this season and get European football because the way they're going at the moment, I mean, they just look so well balanced as a team. They've got the perfect balance. I said it last week. They've got such an unbelievable balance side, and they'll hopefully they won't let this get to them because I'd love to see a team like West Ham jump into that top 4, just break the mould a bit. Leicester as well. So yeah, West Ham will bounce back, no doubt from that.
Speaking of West Ham, a player which, from the red half of Manchester, still performing well. I think he picked up another assist in that game. Jesse Lingard. I mean, we might get sick and tired of saying his name every week, but he keeps scoring and getting assists. Now we spoke about Lingard in the transfer window on live stream, saying that you said that West Ham probably wasn't the best move for him. I thought it was, because I don't think going to a team like Sheffield United or a team near the bottom would really have benefited him. And I guess I've got one over you on that. I think this loan move is paying out for him and for West Ham equally as well.
I'm going to vote for Lag.
Yeah, they bought Jesse Lingard in quite clearly with an intent for him to actually come in and change the system slightly, and that's what slight tweak to the system, because they were playing Ben Rama in that sort of 10 role before the transfer of Lingard, and Lingard has just come in and just wiped the floor with the opportunity. And we all knew that Jesse Lingard had the ability. You know, as much as people want to meme him, we know that Jesse's got the talent to perform in the Premier League, and he's now doing it at West Ham. And to be honest with you, I'd like to see him sign there permanently. I don't think going back to United's a good thing. I don't think he's United level, if I'm being honest. I think he is West Ham level, which for me is like Europa League. And look, the United have spent more than enough money especially in midfield areas with Bruno Fernandes and Donny van der Beek for Lingard to be coming back and starting. So I'd like to see it being made permanently in the summer, mainly for his development as well in the late stage of his career, because I think he can be a real good signing for West Ham for the next 2 to 3 years at least.
Yeah, no, I think the Lingard situation is going to be very interesting to see how it plays out, especially in the summer, because I know he signed, I think they triggered an extension in a contract, so he won't obviously leave for free or anything. But again, with Man United, there's a lot of big decisions to be made in the summer in terms of transfers. You look at the goalkeeping situation. Dean Henderson's not happy being number 2 all the time. You look at the striker. Before we get to the striker, Dean Henderson's not happy. United need 3 players, in my opinion, to win the league. 4, if you want to get rid of Martial, and at the minute that could be quite valid, and bring in another striker. And because we all know Cavani's 34, 35, he's not going to be here, for the next 5-10 years, is he? So United have got some big decisions to make, and now you can chuck Lingard into that. You can probably chuck Donny van der Beek into that as well. What happens with him? Does he get his run in the side? And believe me, I will speak about that later on. But like I said, Lingard is going to be a really interesting one to look at in the summer for both West Ham and Man United. But speaking of transfers, another comment in from Browno. Omar Richards to Bayern has been confirmed, and I'm glad you brought this up, Browno, because I did see this today. Reading left back Omar Richards will join Bayern Munich on a 4-year deal this summer. 23-year-old has agreed to sign for the Bundesliga champions, having passed a medical for them. That's from Sky Sports. So, Brano, looks like you're going to have to jump on an episode soon and give us your thoughts on that one. But I guess a little bit of outside transfer window transfer news is Omar Richards is going to be a Bayern player, I believe, in the summer. So a little bit of an F in the chat for Ben and Reading there. So we're with you through this tough time, Ben. You'll make it through. We'll move on through City and West Ham because, like we said, we've got a lot to get through tonight. Morgan, your favourite Midlands club. West Brom 1, Brighton 0. This game was just... It's just one of them, isn't it? It's just one of them games where I think Brighton need a striker, don't they?
Brighton are just... I'm so glad I didn't support that team because, like, you can look into expected goals as much as you want, but oh my, did they not take their chances? 2 penalties in the same game. 2 penalties. We're talking about professional footballers scoring from 12 yards. You've got Pascal Gross smashing crossbars.
Stop
Danny
hating
Welbeck
Bruno
hitting-
then.
You've got Danny Welbeck hitting posts. You've got Aaron Connolly missing from 2 yards, blazing it over the bar. You got Lewis Dunk scoring free kicks when the referee quite clearly told him that he could take it. I do want to mention that incident. I think it's a joke. I think it really, really now referees are starting to be put under pressure to be culpable for decisions. These referees need to come out and start facing the media because that decision was absolutely bizarre. Lewis Dunk, if you haven't seen the interview, Lewis Dunk quite clearly has said that the referee said he could take it. So he did, scores the goal, and the referee gives the goal after the Brighton players moan at him. It's almost as if he gets persuaded by Brighton. Then the West Brom players moan back at him. And then he goes over to VAR. And then VAR tell him to go and change it. It's just an absolute calamity, to be honest. I watched this game and I just thought, what is going on? Like, this is not a good advocate for the Premier League whatsoever. And I think referees are getting put into more pressure week by week by making these terrible decisions. It's the fact that he gave the goal. If he hadn't given the goal, Brighton wouldn't have had as much of an issue. It's the fact that he gave it and then he just went, I'm going to go to the VAR. It was so bizarre. He just didn't know what he was doing. It was as if he forgot the rules. And we're talking about like a referee that is like refereed for so long. He's not a newcomer, Lee Mason. He's been in the league for a long time. So it's quite worrying from that front. But Brighton should definitely have won this game. But when you're West Brom down at the bottom, you need games like this. You need to win games like this where you are against sides above you if you are to make a dramatic escape. So it was a big win for the Albion because they're only 7 points adrift now, or I think 8 actually, or 9 maybe. I think 9. Correct my maths. My maths is shocking, but yeah, I think they're 9 points adrift now. So it is still a massive margin, but it's down by 3 points. So it's a big win for West Brom because they didn't deserve it. But at the end of the day, with the Sam Allardyce team, they don't deserve a lot of results that they get, but he somehow finds a way to get some results. And this was another one that was quite miraculous with how Brighton played and how they should have scored so many.
Yeah, I think this game is going to be easily overruled for that refereeing decision, and I don't think the refereeing decisions will end there for this podcast. I'm sure it will. We're going to talk about them quite a bit because there was I think as Ryan said, there was a hefty few over this weekend. Speaking of Brighton, they're getting dragged into it a little bit down there, aren't they? Do you think they will go down? I mean, obviously we know the teams down there: Sheffield United, Newcastle, West Brom, who obviously they've just lost to. Is there a chance Brighton gets sucked into it? Because I think, do you think they have the worst chance of going down out of the teams which aren't in it at the minute, like your Newcastles and your Crystal Palaces and teams like that?
I think Brighton are. I think they'll be all but safe. I think the thing is with Brighton is that there's so many games this season where they should have won. This being one of them, Villa being another one. There's 5 points dropped already, and 5 points would put them 14th ahead of Southampton this season. So look, I think Brighton will be okay. The reason why I think Brighton will be okay is because I think from now to the end of the season, I think Brighton will get more points than Newcastle. Because Newcastle, I'll speak about them soon, but them without Callum Wilson are absolutely doomed. So I think they'll get more points than Newcastle, and I think that's what they'll hang their hat on. And to be honest with you, think I think Brighton won't need to hang their hat on Newcastle. Look, they've been on a really good run of form before the Villa game and this game, and look, they're more than capable of going and turning this around and getting a few good results in their next few games. So I think Brighton will be all but okay. They've got so much quality, Brighton. They can't get relegated surely with that amount of quality in the team. It's their lack of a prolific striker that really hinders Brighton. They've got so many players like Malpai, Connolly, Welbeck. They're just not good enough. All three of them are not good enough to play in the Premier League. They need a striker. So
With yeah, I think that's a good point. With talking about them needing a striker, we look at West Brom on the other side. They obviously brought in I'm probably going to butcher his name, but Diagne or Diagne scored against Man United. You know, a good, big, tall, sort of physical striker, but he's also quite quick. Do you think he is the one to sort of help West Brom possibly replace Brighton and knock Brighton into the bottom three, or do you just think it's a done deal that Brighton make it out and West Brom are probably down?
I think West Brom are in a situation where they actually could potentially get out of it. There's nothing. West Brom and Brighton, West Brom and Fulham are actually in really good form over the last three games, both unbeaten in their last three, both picking up 5 points. They're picking up points down there. And West Brom have Newcastle coming up. And that is huge. Because if West Brom win that game, they're 6 points off Newcastle. But Newcastle are in serious trouble because I struggle to see where Newcastle are going to get points. And West Brom seem to, at the moment, be grinding out results. And although they look adrift at the moment, the same as what Fulham were, you've seen Fulham now have slowly but surely got their way back up, and Fulham are now nearly out of that relegation zone, and West Brom are sort of doing the same thing. Fulham are unbeaten in their last 5. West Brom are unbeaten in their last 3. They're slowly but surely plugging away at that gap, and at the moment, Newcastle and Brighton are not picking up points. So at the end of the day, at the moment, this relegation fight, I don't think it's over yet. I think Sheffield United are all but gone. I think they are officially gone. I think it's going to be really interesting because I said before that it wasn't going to be that many points to stay in this league. But I tell you something, I might go back on that. I think it's going to be 30 odd points to stay in this league. I think it's going to be between 30 to 33 points to stay in this league because West Brom and Fulham are going to be fighting for their lives. They're going to be fighting for every single point. And Newcastle and teams like Brighton have got to pick up results quickly and get away from that situation because at the moment they're getting dragged into something that in terms of quality and golf of class, especially Brighton, they shouldn't be anywhere near that bottom 3. And that's why it frustrates me when people talk about Brighton as this fantastic side. It's all well and good playing good football like they did in this game. But again, they don't score goals. They cannot put the ball in the back of the net. And I tell you something, if they get relegated this year, they're going to lose an awful lot of players. So, look, Potter needs to find a way to get some of them strikers firing because at the moment, without a striker firing, they're going to have games like this where they need a goal scorer and they ain't got one, and they needed one in this game. If you've got a proper goal scorer, he scores both penalties. And the Connolly chance. If you've got a proper shot, 3-1, game over, game's done. So Brighton, if they are to stay in the Premier League, they definitely need to go and get a striker in the transfer window. 100% they need to get a natural goal scorer, because they're going to be in trouble next year if they can't get that goal scorer. Same as this season. They're going to struggle.
Well, one thing is certain: if Brighton go down, Ty will be a very, very happy man.
He would.
He would. So yeah, we'll move on from West Brom Brighton. Morgan, we spoke about Leeds Villa. I thought it'd be an absolute goal fest. You, on the other hand, said it wouldn't be, and unfortunately, I think you got this one right. So Leeds 0, Villa 1. I'll give you thoughts. I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch a game, so I can't put anything on it. So I'll let you take this one and vent your thoughts.
I'd like to firstly I mean, that pitch for Leeds, oh my God, it was horrendous. It was like a Sunday League pitch. I haven't seen a Premier League pitch in worse condition in quite some time. Like the pitch was honestly abysmal. Honestly, it was so bad. Like it did affect the game a lot, because players were like, both teams were genuinely struggling to put patterns of play together and stringing passes together, because the surface was so tricky to play on, especially against Leeds, who are high press and all at you. It was very difficult for us to play. So look, Dean Smith got this one spot on, absolutely spot on. I said after the Leicester game that we probably needed a bit of rotation in midfield. Fair play to him. Fair play. Bringing in Jacob Ramsey, which is a massive gamble. So big of a gamble. In a game like this, where a lot is riding on it, and we're not in good form, he brings in Nakamba for Luiz, and he brings in Ramsey for Barkley. And I tell you something, Ramsey was fantastic. Absolutely brilliant in that midfield. Gave us energy, gave us everything we want. A marvellous Nakamba. I tell you something. I'd have him in the Sheffield United game. I would keep playing this guy, because Villa, I saw some ridiculous stat after the game. Villa have not conceded a goal this season with marvellous Nakamba on the pitch, which I think is ridiculous. He's played something like 370 minutes. So we're not talking about a player that's played 60 minutes this year. He's played over, if you accumulate the games, he's played over four to five games this season, and we haven't conceded a goal. What he brings to us is so... Luiz's reading of the game makes up for his lack of pace, but Marvellous Nakamba has such energy, and his interceptions and reading of the game as well is fantastic. Okay. So it's brilliant now that we've got two holding midfielders that can come in and do just as good a job as one another. You know, this was the perfect game for Nakamba and Ramsey. We needed energy in that midfield, which is what we've been lacking in recent weeks. And Nakamba and Ramsey gave us that. But we took the lead really early through Anwar El Ghazi. Quite fortunate, because we had Ollie Watkins slip over, put in. It was definitely a shot, but it went to Anwar El Ghazi. Fantastic touch and a great finish at the back post. He thought he was offside, but he was just onside. We take the lead after Leeds should have scored from exactly the same chance. Literally a spitting image. Bamford slipping, shooting. Rafinha at the back post, but he couldn't sort his feet out. And then Tyler Roberts goes close as well. Fantastic save.
Got no boost.
By Emi Martinez, who was brilliant throughout the game. Yet again, which I'm struggling to speak any more about Emi Martinez, because I think he's unbelievable. But you know what? It was a fantastic defensive display from us, and it's another game where we go 1-0 up and we just shut up shop. We didn't need to attack. We didn't offer anything. Game after we scored, we had a few half chances in the first half. In the second half, we barely had a shot. But Leeds weren't their normal selves. Rafinha was off the pace. Bamford barely got a touch. Our defensive display in this game was fantastic. And you have to credit Dean Smith in that last season we conceded 67 goals in the entirety of the season. We conceded 26 so far this season, and we've already kept 13 clean sheets in 24 games. It's staggering. It's absolutely staggering. The defensive capabilities of this squad now.
92s. All right.
You know, Konsa, Mings, Target, these players that were there last season, and they've Dean Smith and that coaching staff, John Terry, Craig Shakespeare coming in, Richard O'Kelly. They've worked absolute wonders with some of
Liam's joined back
these
now
players
as
because
well.
Matt Target has been exceptional this season. Cash that has come in, brilliant. Martinez in goal and the goalkeeping staff has been phenomenal. Mings, Konsa have been brilliant. So it was a fantastic display from us, and it was such a big win. Leeds fans are the worst fans. Honestly, they are the mouthiest. Of mouthiest fans. Like when they beat us 3-0 earlier on in the season, the cockiness that these idiots were giving me, saying that Leeds were going to finish above Villa. Villa are terrible, overrated, smashed you 3-0. Well, where are these Leeds fans now? I honestly can't. My mate wouldn't even respond to me. 2 days he's left me on red. 2 days he's left me on red. And it was such a bittersweet victory to get revenge on Bielsa for what they did to us at Villa Park. Revenge on Bamford as well, who scored a hat-trick at Villa Park, who did nothing for 90 minutes. And the sort of key battle of the game was Rafinha and El-Mohammadi. And I'll be honest, before this game, I thought, oh my God, we're in for hell. Because if it's not Jack Harrison running at El-Mohammadi, it's going to be Rafinha. And they're just going to toy with him and just switch all game. But Elmo had a fantastic game. Rafinha was terrible. He offered nothing. And I think that went for the rest of the game for Leeds. They were so disappointed. You know, for a side that are meant to be so good going forward, they offered nothing. Bamford was so isolated for 90 minutes. Testament to Dean Smith and how he set us up. No, I'm more than happy to criticise Dean Smith when he gets things wrong. Criticise Villa when we don't play well. But it was a massive win for us, especially if you consider us still trying to push for Europe. I think if we'd have lost this game, I think the hopes of Europe would have gone out the window. Because as mad as it's, Villa now find themselves, if we win our 2 games in hand, we're in the top 4. We're actually in the top 4. So I find that mental again. And yes, we've got to win them games in hand, but we're in the top 4 if we win them both. So at the end of the day, these games in hand are crucial now. If we actually want to get into Europe this season, we have to win these games in hand. You know, it's all well and good, Villa fans going, look, we've done fantastically well this season. Let's just trudge along to the end of the season. What's the point in doing so well and getting to a point where you're challenging Tottenham, Arsenal, Everton for Europa League football and then going, nah, let's just pull the plug on it?
Is it because I was holding the loose?
Nah, let's go for it. We've got 14 games left for this season. Let's just go for it and try and get Europa League football. In my opinion, I think we'll do well next season, but I don't think we'll have a better chance to break into that Europa League spot and then build. You know, Arsenal are terrible. Tottenham are so inconsistent. Everton are inconsistent. You know, the sides around us are so inconsistent and not doing well this year. This is the perfect opportunity for us. We're not going to get a better opportunity. And the thing that impressed me the most about this victory before we move on is winning the game without Jack. To shut all of them pundits up that say that we're Jack Grealish FC and we're nothing without him. This performance showed that we're not just Jack Grealish this season. We're not just him. We've got a team that can defend, and we've got quality going forward that can hurt teams. And we don't even need our best player. Leicester was a difficult game for us because we did see Grealish, like we did really miss him. But then players on Saturday looked like they were proving everyone wrong, and they had a point to prove. And they don't want to look. They don't want people to look at us and go, "No, we're rubbish without Jack," because that's not the case. If we're rubbish without Jack Grealish, we'd have lost this game because Leeds are a quality side. So look, it was fantastic to win without Jack, and look, he is the main man of Villa, but we've proved now that we can cope without him. So if he does get injured at any point, we know that we've got it in us to put in these type of performances and get the 3 points at Ellen Road, which has been a tough place to go this season, as we all know. So, yeah, good win for us. Really good win. And hopefully now back it up with a win against Sheffield United on Wednesday evening, which I think Jack probably won't feature in either. I won't bring him back, even if he is fit, because I don't think it's an important enough game to risk him getting injured again. So yeah, big win for us, and it was a lot for the bragging rights as well. This one, it really was.
No, definitely. We think we've both been on the end of well, not on the end of it. We both had Leeds fans being very vocal. So yeah, well, I don't think we're in disagreement of what they're like. Quickly with Villa, just in a few words, what is the aspiration for Villa this season? Because you mentioned Europa League. If you win your 2 games in hand, you're level on points with West Ham, who occupy the last Champions League spot. Is it for Villa looking as high as you can go and say we're going to go for that last Champions League spot, or is it we'll go for Europa League? If we end up getting Champions League, then excellent. But our main target would be go for the Europa League and just see how the games go. What would it be at Villa now? Is it go all out for that Champions League spot? So if you win your games in hand, you're level on points with West Ham, you occupy it, or is it? I don't think we're going to hit the Champions League spot, so we'll look at Europa League first. Obviously, if we keep winning games and we get to the Champions League spot, fantastic. But our main priority would be going into Europe through the Europa League.
So are we using your team or my team?
I think with Villa, the sky is the limit. You know, we're in a situation that we haven't found ourselves in before for a very long time, and no one that is at the club now was part of the Martin O'Neill regime when we were competing for European football, and we were in European football. So I think the sky's the limit. At the end of the day, these players have proved in the 24 games that they've played with us that they are capable of, you know, beating anyone and giving anyone a game. Thing is, it's 14 cup finals. It's 14 cup finals for us, which is what Dean Smith said last season for us. And we finished strong last season when it looked like we were dead and buried. But listen, with Jack coming back, you know, refreshed as well because he wouldn't have played the last few games. With Jacob Ramsey coming in and doing really well, Morgan Sanson looked fantastic when he came on. The Canva's really improved. You know, we've got genuine selection headaches now. You know, El Ghazi pops up with a goal, and you now can't take him out the team. When Jack comes back, do you take out El Ghazi, or do you take out Traore, who's the better goal threat? Traore and El Ghazi have both chipped in with goals this season, so I think the sky's the limit with that, and I think we've got a squad now that we can rotate, and it'll only get better. So look, Sheffield United, which we'll speak about, you know, soon in due course. It's a big game. big game because
I'll vote.
it's one of our games in hand on a few teams that aren't playing in the midweek fixture. So yeah, the sky's the limit for us. I'd be happy personally
This weekend.
with the top 10 finish. But look, if we get into Europe, I would be over the moon. I don't think personally, I don't think we're ready for Europe. I don't think that we have got the squad yet to compete on a European level. I think we will be next season, but I don't think we've got the squad for it. But these players have proved so many people wrong, and I hope, in essence, that they prove. I'm trying to be as realistic as possible in top 10 because I think. But look, at the end of the day, we could get European football. That is, it seems to be the aim of the players. Listening to Jack Grealish in interviews, so look, if they do it, they're going to go down as heroes for a very long time, and they deserve every credit from me because they have been phenomenal this season, bar a few games. So yeah, sky's the limit for us. Hopefully, we can get that European place.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think Villa, should you get Europe, whether that be the last Champions League spot, as mad as that sounds, or the Europa League, which is still, a viable tournament, as we all know. I think Villa's squad would need a lot of quality added to it, a lot of good depth added to it. So, because I think you've mentioned before, one of Villa's downfalls is possibly a little bit of the squad depth. Because you looked at the beginning of the season, if you had injuries and you were bringing in possibly Nakamba when he wasn't playing so well, Sanson obviously wasn't there. You had young Jacob Ramsey, so sort of the areas of Villa is you haven't quite got the depth that you probably needed if you were to end up in Europe. So I think that might be very much needed if you do end up there. We'll rattle through a couple of the score lines. Newcastle 1, Wolves 1. That's a big point for Newcastle. We mentioned earlier with Brighton dropping points. I know West Brom obviously won, but it's still a big point for Newcastle. At home at Wolves, who are inconsistent, but still a very good team. So I'm sure Newcastle will take that. Palace 0-0 with Fulham. Says it all. We've got Leicester 1, Arsenal 3. We'll speak about that. Tottenham 4-0 against Burnley. So we'll start with Leicester and Arsenal. 3-1. None of us saw this coming. We both put 3-1 Leicester or 2-1 Leicester or a win for Leicester. How big a win is this for Arsenal? Because this is huge. I don't think anyone would have expected Arsenal to beat Leicester. Obviously, Leicester went ahead as well through Tielemans, and Arsenal come back and scored 3.
Everything in this game was set up for Leicester to absolutely demolish Arsenal. The team lineup from Arsenal, I saw some Arsenal fans on social media pretty much say that Arteta's thrown the towel in and he's given up. But what a performance. Willian, first time this season, he's turned up and he was brilliant. Pepe, brilliant. Lacazette come back into the team and was fully justified. Odegaard come on for Emile Smith-Rowe just before half-time because of an injury, and he looked brilliant. Xhaka, after the mistake for the goal, looked really good. And I'm not going to lie, Arsenal fully deserved this win. I think Leicester were quite lucky to go 1-0 up, personally. Jamie Vardy, I've heard a few Leicester fans say that he hasn't been the same player since he come back from his surgery. And he did look off it against Villa. And in this game, he looked off it as well. Just couldn't really affect the game. But Leicester, man, they're so unlucky. So unlucky. The injuries they've had this season. You want about Liverpool moaning about injuries. You want to see Leicester's injury bloody beds. Honestly, Fofana.
I think you can almost do a full alphabet of every Leicester player that's got injured. Obviously there's exceptions to the letters, but quite a few of them letters of the alphabet are filled with players that have been injured for Leicester this season.
It's crazy. And, you look at James Justin, ACL, out for the season. I would have took him to the Euros personally. It's mental. Fofana, like they've had so many. Johnny Evans has got injured in that game. Harvey Barnes has come off with it looks to be a serious injury, so he's now probably out the Euros. Maddison's injured. It's not the same team without Maddison and Barnes in it, and sides are just being depleted with injuries this season. Like the intensity of games and the fixture schedule well and truly brought up on everyone. Teams are just blowing out, and Leicester, I feel so bad for them because the injury list is just phenomenal, and it really impacts what Brendan Rodgers can do. He's almost got his hands tied, and off the back of a really disappointing European result, you would have expected a reaction in this game, but they looked just shot of confidence after that exit, especially being at home as well. Arsenal are completely different. They had a really tricky tie against Benfica and come out on the other end of it with a late winner. So both sides were coming into the game off really contrasting European views. And Arsenal were well worth their win with a lineup that is arguably one of their worst they can field. Didn't even have to bring on Saka, which is a massive plus for Arsenal. They rested a lot of players. So, Mikel Arteta, he has to get credit for this because he's been shot at for most of the season. But to go to Leicester and get a win, especially like that, I think Arsenal could have got about 6 or 7, but they just didn't really want to go for it. They were more than happy with the 3 goals that they've already got. So it was an Arsenal performance of old for me. They look really good. So you just never know what Arsenal team you're going to get. You get the Arsenal that turns up against Villa that are so poor going forward, but then you'll get the Arsenal in this game turn up and they're fantastic going forward. So, just a weird result because I did think Leicester would smash them, if I'm being honest, but I didn't know at the time that Harvey Barnes had come off with an injury and Maddison wasn't fit. So, yeah, big result for Arsenal.
With Leicester, you mentioned the injuries they got now. Do you not think they're having a similar pattern to what they had last season? And I know injuries and sort of Project Restart are 2 different things, but we look at Leicester after Project Restart last year. I mean, I think they were 3rd, however many points in front of Man United. And then on the last game of the season, with pretty much the last kick of football, Lingard confirms United finishing the Champions League and above Leicester. Do you see a similar pattern going to be happening now with Leicester with these injuries? Because they haven't, like you mentioned, they haven't got the same quality on the bench when Maddison and Barnes get injured. They've got Praet, and they've got other players like that, but even they're injured. So it's like, do you see a similar pattern going to happen to what happened after Project Restart last season, where they spiraled downhill and ended up out the Champions League spaces, which, at the minute they're 3rd, they're in the Champions League spaces by 5 points. Do you think they can cling on to it till a few of their players are back, or do you think, they could be heading off down the table again?
I think it's definitely a psychological thing that them Leicester players will be thinking about. I think it's going to play on the minds of them an awful lot. And I hope for them that it doesn't, because this is where the Leicester players that are fit have got to show mental toughness and have got to get results on the board, because let's be honest here, there are teams below them that are in form and are picking points quickly. And Leicester, like before, will find themselves in a situation where it looked as though they were dead on for top 4 and it all comes crumbling down. Because let's be honest here, Chelsea are doing a bit of a United surgence last season, and they're storming into the top 4 with a good run. So, oh God, Leicester, they need Maddison back ASAP, because I think he changes the dynamic of everything. They've got to hope that Barnes isn't serious, because if it is, they're in the mud massively. Vardy needs to get back firing. But look, Brendan Rodgers is really going to be tested as a manager now. because he's got such a bad injury situation that is going to test his management of these players definitely, and tactically as well, because he's got to reinvent really, because you're not going to be able to play the same way as you did against Liverpool with Barnes, Maddison and Vardy in the team, to now when you've got Iheanacho, Vardy and Albrighton in the team in a 4-4-2. So whereas before they'd play a 4-2-3-1. So Leicester are in a worrying time, and I think from a psychological point of view, I think what happened last season will definitely be playing on their minds now, and it might seem as a bit of deja vu.
No.
Yeah, no, definitely. Move on to Tottenham, Burnley, 4-0. We predicted. I think we predicted 1-0 for Tottenham. Well, I think I predicted 1-0 for Tottenham. We predicted a close game. But Gareth Bale had something different to say to that. And we spoke last week about how well he did when he come off the bench against West Ham. And when I watched it, it was unbelievable how Tottenham didn't score again through him. It was, I couldn't believe it. He smashed the bar and everything. This week, 2 goals, assist. Is he back to his best now?
Yeah. Something's clicked. Something has clicked in Gareth Bale. And I don't want to seem like a psychic here, but I guarantee I'm about one of the only people in Fantasy Premier League to have Gareth Bale in their team. I was the genius that swapped Jack Grealish for Gareth Bale, and he comes in and gets me 16 points. So if you want any fantasy tips, come my way. But he's fantastic. Back to the Gareth Bale of old. And if Gareth Bale can rediscover or keep this form up, Spurs will seriously challenge for top 4. I genuinely think it. As much as people don't think that they're anywhere near it, I do think that this could be the moment, or like the game, where Spurs turn back and go and just completely change their fortunes and change the form. Because Spurs with Bale are frightening. Like Son, Kane and Bale as a front three. Jesus Christ. Like,
we said, to be fair, we said this.
Unreal firepower.
We said this at the beginning of the season. We said that with Tottenham, what they brought in was a very underrated window, because they had Son, they had Kane, they had Moura. That's a front three, and that's a very good front three. But then they had Vinicius, Bale. That's extra rotation. I know Bale's been hit and miss this season, and Vinicius has come in and done all right in sort of the Europa League and FA Cup matches, but that's what they were brought in for. Vinicius was not going to start over Kane, because Kane is their striker. Vinicius is going to be brought in to, ease a little bit of pressure, give him a rest here and there, and Bale was Bale, the pass to Tottenham and the quality he's got since he left Tottenham as well. So I was saying at the beginning of the season, that is scary. They've got 2 front threes really they can field, and they're both very good Prem standard front threes. But players haven't been living up to it, Bale being for one. But now, Bale's back, and if you stick in, like you said, with Kane and Son, that is a frightening front three. And, Ali possibly back as well to performing semi near his best. It's good signs for Tottenham, especially with, the second half of the season, where they're going to be chasing the Europa League places and possibly the Champions League, that fourth place. Sorry. Now I said this at the beginning of the season as well. It wouldn't surprise me whether Mourinho just sort of binned off the league a little bit and went all out for the Europa League to get that Champions League qualification. He did it at United. I know we had some shoddy games. I think we drew 0-0 with Sunderland, or games like that where it was awful, but we won the Europa League that season and got in the Champions League. Can you see him doing that at Tottenham? Or do you think, because the season is so tight and so unpredictable, that he'll push to try and get in that Champions League spot? And if he doesn't get in it, or if he knows he may not get in it, then he'll go out for the Europa League.
I think Spurs will play it by ear depending on what happens in the Carabao Cup final. I think that that Carabao Cup final is massive, and I think Spurs with Gareth Bale in it are a lot more likely to go and win that game. Man City will be a lot more scared of Tottenham if Bale is on form and playing. But I think they'll play it by ear. The cup finals in I think April time. It's been delayed, but by then, if Spurs can stay in the Europa League and just keep getting through the rounds until that final, if they lose that final, I think they will go all out in the Europa League because at that point they haven't won the trophy that they wanted. Depending on where they are in the league, I think they've just got to try and be consistent. At the end of the day, there's no excuse for Tottenham's poor league form recently. And you just think that they've lost 5 of their last 7 in the league, including this game. Them 5 games to still be 6 points adrift of the top 4 is remarkable in this league. You imagine if they'd have picked up 3 wins, they'd be in the top 4. So, yeah, I think they've just got to be consistent now. And I think teams will be a lot more frightened of Tottenham with Bale and informed Bale in it. And I think that could be a signing that actually works out in the long run. Because I think Bale is now at a point in his career where he is playing to save his career now. Because Mourinho has probably gone to him, look, Real Madrid ain't having you back. Then there is no way they're having you back. So you either play well here and give the Spurs fans what they want and play the dream out and finish your career at Tottenham, or you go back to Madrid, they flog you to someone else that's not as good, and you just play golf all year. So, yeah, Bale has been that performance from him was fantastic. I know, albeit against Burnley, but Burnley are a hard side to break down, and Spurs just have this knack when they play Burnley at home of just destroying them, just finding a way. I think with Burnley, as soon as you put 1 goal past them, I think the floodgates do open. I think then they have to try and go for the game, and Spurs just pick them off. But this game was 4-0, and it could quite easily have been 7 or 8. Nick Pope, what a goalkeeper! He has to be England's number 1 at the Euros. Has to be. His shot stopping and athleticism for such a big guy is something I haven't ever seen before. Some of the saves he was pulling off for Burnley stopped it from being a lot more embarrassing for them than this. But yeah, good result for Tottenham. They needed a result like this.
We spoke about Bale there and Madrid, sort of ended sourly for the minute. Obviously, he could still return after his loan spell. But with Bale, do you think his future lies permanently at Tottenham after this loan move? If so, what sort of fee do you think we're looking at for Bale? I think he's 30, 31 now, possibly even 32. What are we looking at for Bale in terms of a figure? And do you think he even will end up at Tottenham? Or do you think he'll move permanently elsewhere?
If he has a good end of the season at Tottenham, I think he will force a move to Tottenham. There is no way, from what I know, there is no way that Real Madrid want him back. The fans want to kill him and hate his guts. They do not want him anywhere near the club. Zidane doesn't like him. The players have turned on him. So there's no way he's going back to Real Madrid. Not a chance. They wouldn't even want him if he plays well with the squad that they've got. They wouldn't want him. So, especially with his age as well. I think Real Madrid will try and get a fee for him. But I think, because obviously Spurs have got both Reguilon and Bale on loan from Real Madrid. I could see Real Madrid having Reguilon back, if I'm being honest, because I think Real Madrid do rate him as a player. But I think Bale is the more likely of the two to get a permanent deal. And I think it will be, I don't think the fee will be extortionate, to be honest. I think it will be like a big fee. I think it'd be 20, 30 million still, but I don't think it'll be a lot because of his age and because of the length of his contract at Madrid. I don't think he's got long on it at all. Yeah, I think Bale will be quite a cheap transfer for Spurs to have back. I think however well he does will dictate the fee, because if he sort of peters out towards the end of the season, doesn't really do well, and it's a few good games, Real Madrid will probably go, yeah, you can have him on a free. They don't really see much value in him, or they may try and get 10, 15 million for him. Bear in mind, they signed him for an incredible fee from Spurs. So, yeah, I think the fee from that they paid for Gareth Bale, I think they'll want to make some of it back. But I think how well he does will then dictate on how much the fee actually is as well.
Again, it's another one which, especially in the summer, is going to be interesting to see how it plays out, because I think you mentioned Reguilon as well. I think because of that buyback clause, I think that's another reason why I didn't want him at United, to be honest, because there's no doubt fantastic player, but I just feel that Real Madrid love a buyback option. You've seen it with Moratti, you've seen it with Mariano, and Reguilon has played well this season. He's up there with the likes of Shaw, Tierney, Robson. I'm sure you'll chuck Matt Target into there as well, in terms of the best left backs in the league. So I think Reguilon could as well end up back there. Bale, interesting one. I don't think he goes elsewhere, to be honest. I think, like you say, Tottenham is where he goes, and we'll have to see what happens with Bale. We'll have to see, but yeah, I think his permanent future lies at Tottenham if he carries on the way he's going. We'll move on to one of the main sort of games of the weekend. It didn't play out like it, but it was one of the main games. Got a comment in from HG. Who are your favourite players? Currently for me, it's Bruno Fernandes, and although he hasn't played, Donny van de Beek, I think he's a magnificent player and should be playing more. So yeah, they're probably my two favourite from United. I think obviously Rashford, what he's done on and off the pitch as well, and probably chuck Greenwood into that mix as well. So they're my sort of favourite players for United. Morgan, I could hazard a guess at yours for Villa.
Yeah, no, look, Jack Grealish is obviously the golden boy. Again, he is my favourite player. But you know what? There are a lot of players in that Villa squad that I equally like as well. But two that I've grown on is Matty Cash and Emi Martinez. Do you know what? I'll throw Matt Target in there as well. Them three. Emi Martinez, hold me against this, is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. Not bothered. I don't want to hear De Gea. I don't want to hear Ederson. I don't want to hear anything else other than Emi Martinez for the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. The guy is ridiculous. I'm sorry, but to keep 13 clean sheets this season in a team that, let's be honest here, Ederson barely faces the same amount of shots as Emi Martinez every week, barely, and has still kept 13 clean sheets. I have never seen a more commanding goalkeeper in the Premier League. That box is his. He claims cross after cross after cross after cross. He anticipates everything. Honestly, I love Emi Martinez. And the best thing that he ever said was when he come to Villa, he said, it's a step up in my career, not a step back coming from Arsenal. And he has justified that from the day that he came to the club. And every performance, Emi Martinez has had two poor games this year, Burnley away and West Ham at home. But the best thing is that after those games, he's followed them up with 2 clean sheets in a row. So in terms of my favourite players, I think a lot of them Villa players are genuinely my favourite players because I can resonate with so many of them. Kashi, his work rate and passion for the shirt is ridiculous. Matt Target as well. I think it's the first time in my lifetime that I've watched a Villa team and I feel as though they're Villa fans. Like all of them players act as Villa fans. They feel the fans. Even Mings, you can tell, just loves the club. Like every player that puts on that shirt loves the club. And for the first, like I think that stems from the main man, who is my favourite player. If I had to pick one, Jack Grealish. He's just installed Villa into anyone that walks through that door, and everyone's buying into it, which is great going forward. But for me, it's Jack Grealish, and then I'd have Emi Martinez as a close second personally.
Yeah, I think for me, Wan-Bissaka gets an honourable mention as well. Bree says, Jack Grealish is the golden boy. It's Liam Delap, mate. Football Manager again. HG again. Who do you think is better, Mason Mount or Phil Foden?
Do you know what?
We'll come back to that one. Another one from as a fizzy. Got the Villa job yesterday. Fair play, lads. Fair play. It's Football Manager again. I
was going to say, you can't look. Dino's doing a good job. You can't be having his job like that. Come on.
We'll come back to this one. We better do this one quickly because else we could be here for ages. I mean, Mason Mount or Phil Foden. Personally, Mason Mount has been Chelsea's best player this season, and that says something when you bring in Havertz, Ziyech, Werner, who are all attacking players as well. So, yeah, I think Mason Mount's been Chelsea's best player this season. And definitely, let's put it this way. I think both of them are in the Euro squad, providing they're not injured. But the only one I consider starting is Phil Foden, because I think he is an unbelievable talent. And also you're seeing now at City that he's scored in a lot of very big games. He scored against Liverpool, both last season, this season. You know, he's in and out of that team a lot, but when he's in, he performs. I know early on in the season when City weren't doing so well, they drew 1-1 West Ham. Phil Foden scored. So similar to Mason Greenwood last season, is he scoring big goals for City? And at that point, you know, in big games for them, you know, they're losing 1-0 to West Ham, he scores. So I'm going to go Phil Foden, but Mason Mount is Chelsea's best player. But I don't think either of them start for England at the Euros unless, of course, Maddison or Grealish get injured.
I think I watch an awful lot of Mason Mount because I think his movement is genius. I think he's so good for Chelsea. And he is genuinely one of their best players. And I've done a full U-turn on him because I didn't really rate him in the Championship for Derby. I thought he was so overrated. Especially when you compare him to someone like Jack Grealish. And yeah, don't get me wrong, I still think Grealish is miles better than him. But at the end of the day, I think both of them have their qualities. Phil Foden is obviously, Phil Foden is a better player. There's no doubt about that. You look at the quality of performance every game, and he at times has carried that Man City team in certain games. Like you allude to the West Ham game away. There's been games where he has single-handedly won them the game. Mason Mount hasn't really been able to do that, but I think both of them, one is playing in a system that allows Phil Foden to embrace himself. One is playing in a system which actually I think hinders Mason Mount. I think at the moment Tuchel or Thomas Tuchel is trying to find his best system. And I think Mason Mount, they've got to try and find a way to get him to flourish, which is getting goals and assists like he was in the early era of Lampard as manager, and getting on the end of things. So, look, I think Mason Mount has definitely got the potential to be as good as Phil Foden, but Chelsea have got to find a system that's going to allow him to embrace himself and be as good as Phil Foden is being at Man City. That's what I'd say on it.
Yeah, I think we better leave it on that, else we could be here all day. But yeah, thanks for that, HG, and please do list any more topics you want to talk about. Chelsea 0, Man United 0. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet.
I called it.
In terms, you did call it, to be fair. I went 2-1 just because I thought there's no way it could be another 0-0 game, especially for United against the Big Six. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet in terms of United's point of view, and then the game overall a little bit. Game overall, I don't think either team did enough to win it, to be honest. I think the best chance was probably maybe Giroud's header that he missed. Possibly if McTominay had squared it properly, United's best chance that. But I don't think either team did enough to win the game. I think a draw was a fair result. On to Man United. The title race is over. I know there's a long way to go and a lot of points to be won. But if United don't beat teams in the Big Six, you're not going to win titles. It's as simple as that. We still haven't won a game in the league against the Big Six. The only time we will have is against Liverpool in the FA Cup. So, yeah, the title race is done. Secondly, Fred and McTominay cannot play with each other again in a Big Six game. They can play against each other, play with each other against the Leeds because that worked really well. And they can play with each other against maybe some of the lesser teams. But they don't have the attacking capabilities to help you win a game. And how many times are we going to sit here, or am I going to sit here and say that he's chucked McTominay straight back into that team after he was out injured? He's got Donny van der Beek on the bench again. Imagine my shock. And you need a goal. And he's still playing Fred and McTominay. Our best chance was probably Fred's shot with his weak foot, which is about a 1 in 100 shot, and it just went past the post. We have no attacking outlets apart from Bruno, Rashford. Dan James was quite good in the game. I'll give him that. But yet again, you expect him to create a lot of chances being a winger. And Greenwood was, in and out of the game, did as well as he could, I felt. So we had no attacking outlet from midfield apart from Bruno Fernandes. And we know you've got to take the pressure off of Bruno Fernandes because, he's an unbelievable player. He is Man United, essentially. So you need to support him. Why on earth Van der Beek can't even get on in that game just shows that we weren't going there to win the game. We would not go in there 0-0 with 10, 15 minutes to go. He doesn't even put him on. We made one sub, and that was Martial. It's not good enough. And that's not Man United. That's not how Man United play, to set up with Fred and McTominay in front of a back four. If you play Bailly, I thought Lindelof had a good game, by the way. I thought Lindelof had a good game. But if you play Bailly, if you play Van der Beek next to Fred or McTominay, you pick whichever one, and you play Bruno, and you play Rashford, Dan James, and Greenwood or Martial up top, or Cavani when he's back fit, United would have probably created more chances and been more likely to win a game. I would rather see United probably lose 2-1, 3-1 by attacking and going at it and having the mentality that we're going to outscore you than sitting back and, not really having a clear-cut chance of drawing 0-0 with Chelsea. It's the clean sheets is good, but they don't mean anything if they don't win games. It gives you the platform to win games, but then you got to go and win the game. Like, you can't just defend and then expect to score a goal. Like, you've got to go and take the game and give it a good go and go and get the 3 points, because United have dropped silly points again this year. Sheffield United, West Brom, Chelsea, Arsenal twice. Like, come on. It's not good enough. It really isn't. And I know Ollie's only lost. Ollie, just to quickly before you come in, Ollie's only lost 4 league games, I think, in the past year, which is exceptional. That is unbelievable. But it's the draws which are killing us now. And our record against the top 6 isn't terrible because we've lost, I think, 2 games, Tottenham and Arsenal. But the problem is we're drawing the other games. We're not winning them. And that's not going to win you the league. We're too scared to go and win a game against the top 6. So we play Fred and McTominay to cover Lindelof and Maguire because, maybe Ollie thinks that them two as a centre-back pairing ain't good enough. So he has to play Fred and McTominay. And then we're too scared to go and win the league. That's the problem with Man United. Is they talk the talk in terms of saying, we want to win the league. We're going to push City all the way. It's not over till it's over. But yeah, when Ollie picks his teams, they're the signals that are being sent out, which tells you you're not going to win this game. We've seen it with Leipzig. We had to draw to go through. Oh yeah, we're going there to win the game. Back 3, back five basically, 2 holding midfielders. That is not telling me you're going there to win that game. Chelsea, Fred and McTominay, you're not going there to win that game. If Van der Beek is playing instead of McTominay, he crosses that ball and it's 1-0. But McTominay plays that pass and it's god-awful and the chance is gone. So for Man United, it's not good enough. That is not Man United playing against a Big Six team. That is more like a mid-table team which is trying to smash and grab 3 points to try and get to mid-table. That's what it seemed like. And I can't watch McFred in a big game. Again, I've said it multiple times. It burns my eyes. They can't play. And if he makes the excuse that Van der Beek's not fit enough, he's just chucked McTominay into a game after being injured for 2 weeks. So I can't be bothered if Van der Beek doesn't get a run in the team. Pogba's injured. Van der Beek's brought in as backup. He still can't get in the team. What's the bloke meant to do?
I've like we first said, right? I called this game a mile off. I said to you it'd be a 0-0. I just knew it. I knew it because the United, it's the same old story. 7 games against the traditional Big Six this season. 1 goal, 5 draws, 2 losses, not a single win. And the only goal that you scored, you lost 6-1 against Spurs. And it sums up absolutely everything you need to know. Absolutely everything you need to know about Man United this season, because I find it so embarrassing how I listen to the Gary Neville podcast and he turns around and he goes, people need to respect this run that Man United have gone on. 20, something like unbeaten in 20 away games, unbeaten in a year away. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? No one. You're not anywhere near winning the league. Who cares? You can go 20 unbeaten away from home. Well done. Bravo. But where are you in the Premier League? Nowhere near the win. Nowhere near the team that are going to win it. Who cares? Like, I find it bizarre how even someone like Gary Neville can actually come out and go, after you've just played shockingly, by the way. I think both teams were horrendous, but it was a shocking game of football again, which is why I called the 0-0, because I knew it was going to be tactically exactly the same as the first game, which it was. And I find it embarrassing how people that Gary Neville's a born winner, part of the Sir Alex Ferguson era, and you've got him coming out talking about 20 away unbeaten. Are you joking? You're nowhere near the Premier League. Get real. Get real. You're nowhere near it. I'm sorry, but as well, Bruno Fernandes, he has to have stick for this game. The way that he was having a go at some of these players, I understand, Bruno Fernandes, that you are the best player at Man United. I get that. You have as much right as anyone else to tell players when they're not doing things. But how frustrated he was getting, how negative he was on that pitch. You should have took him off. Honestly, you should have took him off, because he was slaughtering half of your players. And you could tell that when McTominay made that mistake, and it was a terrible ball, and I've said before that McTominay is not good enough, but the way that Bruno Fernandes ridiculed him after that, you can just tell that a lot of them players are getting fed up with one another. You can see McTominay's thinking about Fred, you ain't good enough. Bruno Fernandes is looking at Dan James and going, I'm playing in a team with Dan James. We ain't going to win the league. Marcus Rashford's looking at Martial and going, you ain't good enough to win a league title. I feel like them players look at one another, and Bruno Fernandes could literally go around that dressing room and go, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. About most of that team. Most of that team isn't good enough to win a Premier League title. And I have to say it, and I have to be harsh because it's the reality of it. But the one thing that I was devastated at was, or not devastated, but angered at, was Bruno Fernandes' reactions to a lot of things, because he didn't have a great game. He was rubbish. He He's meant to be your best player. And he ain't turned up in a big game this year. Rubbish. Absolutely pathetic. He is not in a position to have a go at any Man United player. His performance was shocking. Passes going out of play, not doing anything going forward. Focus on your own game before you start having a go at everyone else. Because at least, McTominay was making a presence known in the midfield. At least he was wiping out Mason Mount. Bruno Fernandes, did he play? Did he play? Because I can't remember him playing. This guy has got to step up in big games. It's all well and good saying that everyone's not good enough around you. But then this game is the type of game that you grab it by the scruff of your neck and go and win it for your team. This is the game where you show, I'm the difference. I'm the difference maker. Kevin De Bruyne, when City won the league, was the difference maker. Chelsea 0, Man City 1. Who scored the goal? Kevin De Bruyne, because he took the game by the scruff of his neck and won the league for Man City. Bruno Fernandes has got to do the same. He hasn't turned up in a big game this year. And like you said, it isn't good enough. The record against the Big Six isn't good enough. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can come out after the game and say 2 points dropped because of refereeing decisions. No. You dropped 2 points because you are a naive manager. Get your results up, mate, and go and look at every time you've played a big team. Have you won it? No. Why? Why aren't you scoring goals in big games?
The thing that baffles me,
you're not going for it.
The thing that baffles me is he's played McFred in a lot of the big games. It hasn't worked. We're not scoring goals. Yes, we're keeping clean sheets, but it's not working going forward. Why don't you change it? It's still not working. When's he have to change it? I remember at the start of the season when he brought Van der Beek in, he said he got asked, do you reckon you could end up playing Van der Beek, Pogba and Bruno all in the same midfield? And he said, yeah, we probably could. I think we've seen it once, twice. I know Pogba's injured at the minute, but when he was fit, you didn't see it. So I just don't understand what has to be done for Fred and McTominay to not play with each other, because it's beyond a joke now.
I personally feel sorry for you lot as a fan base. I really do, because you're being sold a myth. You're being sold a myth. Can Man United, can someone at Man United please come out and say whether they're going for this title? Please. Because 1 week he's going, nah, we're not in a title race. Don't see us in a title race. And then when they go further behind, they go, yeah, we're in a title race now. Are you in a title race or what? Because teams that are in a title race will go into this game going 3 points, nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else is acceptable. 3 points. We close the gap. Yeah, Man City won, but we keep winning. That's the only way that Man City are going to be beat, by putting pressure on them, because they will lose. City will lose at some point to someone. They'll slip up. And Man United are what everyone's hope this year. Everyone's hope of breaking that City barrier, that just breaking them down, keeping tabs with them and pouncing on them when they made a mistake. City could have 3 stinkers and Man United won't even be anywhere near them. Because from now to the end of the season, United are going to lose games. Quite confident. Like, let's be honest here, they're not going to go and beat them for the rest of the season, because look at them, they're so off it, like they're miles off it. I have nothing against Dan James, but United ain't going to win a league with him in the starting 11. I'm sorry.
The thing with United fans is a lot of people say, look at our defence. You don't need attackers to win this league. And I'd agree. I think we need a defender. And you look at the likes of previously Upamecano, but obviously he's gone to Bayern Munich. But even then, he started playing a bit poorly recently. So you look at that Jules Koundé, I think, at Sevilla, probably being the main target for United. And I think he's an exceptional defender. And I'd get him in at any cost, to be honest. But you've got Eric Bailly, who's that sort of defender. It's just a shame he's so injury prone. If you start Bailly with Maguire, you don't play McFred because you've got that pace from Bailly, which says, even if they hit us on the counter, we got Bailly, they're not going to run past us and really hit us hard. United fans go, we don't need attackers to win the league. If you've got Jadon Sancho, which we could have got in the summer, I know we could get him again this summer, you play him on that right midfield. Do you think we create more chances in that game? Yes. Yes is the answer.
Yeah, 100%.
If you have an out-and-out striker which will score goals, because Greenwood's good, but I don't think he's quite there to play that striker number 9 role. I think he's still very good off the right, but he's not quite at that striker role yet. So if you have any striker that scores goals, I mean, Haaland we got linked with. Imagine if we had Haaland, we win that game. I'm sorry, United are 3 signings off winning this league. This season we are overachieving. And that sounds stupid, but we are overachieving with the squad we've got. If United want to go and win the league, 3 signings have to be made. A good centre-back like Bailly, who doesn't get injured. A good defensive midfielder, because Matic needs to, he's too old. Someone needs to take over from him. And then you need Jadon Sancho, in my opinion. And you also probably need a top-quality striker. So I think United are overachieving massively, and they need to... The board need to do something, for Christ's sake, and get the players that Ollie wants in. But then Ollie also has to pick the right players, which, at the minute is unbelievable. And just to sort of end on United, because like I said, we could be here all day. We mentioned it, the refereeing decision. Look, I think it's a penalty, and that's not me being biased. If a ball hits the hand of a player, it's out and it's not close to the body, the rule is it's a penalty. The more issue I have is the referee telling Harry Maguire that I can't give it as a penalty, even though it is, because it will cause a lot of people to talk afterwards. And I know United have come out and said that Shaw's misheard Maguire and Shaw shouldn't have said what he said.
Oh, it's only to support the referee.
It's utter rubbish. What Maguire said to Shaw is true. Then United are not going to come out. Sure, United are not going to come out and go, Shaw misheard that. That's not true what's happened. That is what the referee has said. So why on earth are they not giving decisions just to benefit the referee and for talking afterwards? This is the best league in the world.
The thing is, you don't, like, that sort of thing just doesn't get made up. Because I put this on Facebook and I had a few people comment. And a Chelsea fan was like, "Oh yeah, but he could have made it up." And I went, "I'm sorry, but it's so specific.
Don't make stuff up like that.
That ain't made up. That ain't made up. Like the only reason why they've come out and said that Luke Shaw misheard is to protect the referees and to
Luke
avoid
Shaw could
fine.
get banned. Luke Shaw could get banned for the next couple of games for saying what has been told to him. And yet the referee won't have anything done to him, and he'll be in VAR box in the midweek games. I don't get it.
I think, look, it is quite worrying when referees are like, the thing is though, it's scary because even the referees are aware of the backlash that they get, which is why that they should be accountable for their decisions. And like the Lewis Dunk one, they should come out and do interviews, because they need to rationalise their decisions, because we then have pundits try and rationalise it, and they don't have a clue because they're not the referee. They can't get in the mind of a referee. So these referees need to start being made accountable, and they shouldn't be protected the way they are. It's simple as that. They shouldn't have the authority that they do, because the decisions that they make on a regular basis are a shambles. And if you've got referees turning around and going that they don't want to give a penalty because they know the impact that it's going to have after and the aftermath of it, you got to question where football is right now. And it's not in a good place whatsoever. No. And ultimately, like DT says, that's why we got no officials. That's why no English officials go to major European tournaments, because they're a shambles and they have no idea what they're doing. So I think it's worrying that referees are actually being swayed by the antics behind it. And referees at the moment are in a dark place because it'll get to a point where something has to be done because the voice will get too strong. A lot of these referees will probably quit because of how
Yeah.
bad the abuse is. You look at Mike Dean, has been abused on social media through his mum and dad because he hasn't got a direct social media account. So, look, it was a penalty. 100% it was a penalty. But at the end of the day, the referee clearly didn't want to get the backlash of it, even though he's now got more backlash for openly admitting it to a player. So I don't really get where the logic is on that one. But yeah, I guess we'll have to move on because they'll probably do another clanger during the midweek games. So we'll be talking about it again next week.
Just quickly before we do move on, there's just a couple of things I want to talk about. I don't know whether you've seen it, and I'm not by no means saying that this is why United never got the penalty, but Chelsea's official website come out and spoke about how Harry Maguire's going to have to be careful in this game after the last incident with Azpilicueta, the old headlock in the last game. And, that's a pen. I'd openly admit that's a penalty. I'm a defender. If I've done that, I know it's a penalty. So do you think that I don't want to call it stupid and I don't want to call it harsh, but do you not think there's anything in that that's going to sway referees' decisions with official clubs putting on their website that VAR is going to have to be careful with Maguire and, they're going to have to keep a close eye on him? Do you not think that Chelsea should not be doing that? Because that could ultimately have an effect on the game as well.
I don't think Chelsea should be doing it, but I don't agree with Ollie in that it's then going to heavily impact the referee.
Yeah.
Like I just think it's making excuses. I really do. I think, look, it's a cheap shot, and at the moment, Ollie is just looking for cheap shots because he wants to deflect away from his inept ability tactically in big games. And look, I doubt that referee looked on Chelsea's website and gone, well, do you know what? Yeah, Harry Maguire. Yeah, do you know what? If anything happens with Harry Maguire in the game where he comes to speak to me, I'm just going to ignore it because Chelsea's club website have said that he's dodgy. It's mental, man. Like, what is football now? Like, that's one thing that I hate with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. There's always an excuse. Like Jurgen Klopp, there's always something that stops them from just openly admit that you were poor. Openly admit it. People would respect you more if you just went, we were bad, didn't deserve it. Shut up about Chelsea's club website. Yes, they shouldn't be doing it and they deserve a fine for it. It's disrespecting another club, but it is not impacting the game whatsoever, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just think, don't get me wrong, I don't think that's influenced the opinion of the referee to not give the decision. I just think it's a little bit sort of, there's a line, isn't there, to what you put out, and I think Chelsea have crossed that line. But look, I'm not going to say it's Chelsea's fault that we never got that pen because that'd be ridiculous. And then finally, sort of on Man United, clean sheet. So I guess a little bit of praise to the defence with the sort of limited stuff they had to deal with. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, it's come out today that if he doesn't start getting picked for England, he's going to pick, I think it's Congo to start representing at international level. Should he be getting a call up soon? Because I think the bloke has been well worthy of a call up since he signed for Man United, to be honest. I think he's been that good. I don't see now how he doesn't get a call up. If you look at the likes of Trent, he's fallen off a little bit. He'll still be in there, but he's fallen off. You've got Lamptey who got injured. Trippier's doing whatever he's doing at Atletico. You've got Walker in and out of the team. We know what he's like defensively. Surely it's time for Wan-Bissaka to come in. Maitland-Niles was getting in the England squad and he's now at West Brom. What does the man have to do? Is he worthy of a call-up?
I think he's worthy of a call-up, 100%. But the thing is that we all know that Gareth Southgate has his favourites. It took Jack Grealish a year and a half to get into the England side. So, look, at the end of the day, Southgate has his favourites, and I don't really want to get into the whole conversation of England this far in, but I think with Gareth Southgate, I think he's got so many options. I think his loyalty is ultimately similar to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's going to die on his own sword. He's going to die on his own sword or fall on it, because at the end of the day, you look at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and what he's experienced at Manchester United with relation to overload of certain positions and not being able to find the right system. I think Southgate's in the same boat, because does he want a back three? Does he want a back four? If he wants a back four, Wan-Bissaka will probably be in it. If it's a back three, I don't think Wan-Bissaka gets in it. Personally,
I think Wan-Bissaka should be in it, even if it's a back three.
I think he should be, but I think Southgate would prefer Trent in a back three.
What, as a right centre half or something?
Well, I think Southgate looks at Walker, for example, as like a right-sided centre half in a back three, and Trent as a right wing back because of Trent's crossing. So, Trent
would be the ideal right wing back in a back five.
I'd personally like to see Trent in centre midfield, because I don't really think he's a right back, to be honest with you. I think defensively he's shocking.
He is, but I think if you had, like, we've seen it in the World Cup, he played Walker as a right centre back. If you had Wan-Bissaka there, who is arguably the best defensive right back in the world 1v1, and then you got Trent on the right wing back who's got Wan-Bissaka to cover for him, surely that's not a match made in heaven in terms of Trent could just bomb on and he's got Wan-Bissaka there just to tidy up behind him.
I think Wan-Bissaka's attacking is probably the only thing that stops Southgate picking him in that team, because Southgate seems to like attacking fullbacks. You look at he likes playing Bukayo Saka at left back, for example. Obviously Kieran Trippier isn't the most attacking fullback, but he does get forward and whipping crosses. So I think Wan-Bissaka definitely deserves a call up. And he'll be very unlucky to not get in the squad. But one thing that I would say is that it's quite commonly known that the squad picked before the final squad is an ideal view of what Southgate's actually going to go for. And I think Wan-Bissaka has got to replace Ainsley Maitland-Niles.
He should have done it when Maitland-Niles was in the last squad.
He's got to. And I think if he doesn't, I think firstly there'll be an uproar, personally. But I think that will be the decision that people start questioning and going, Southgate isn't the one, personally. But yeah, Wan-Bissaka definitely deserves his call up.
Yeah, no, I agree. Obviously, because I'm a United fan, but I do think he's been well worthy of a call up for the past year and a half, to be honest. But hey, we're here now, so hopefully he gets one. And if not, I'm at the point where I just say, look, best of luck with Congo. You deserve to be playing international football. So, it gets to that stage, I guess, as an England fan, doesn't it? We're quickly going to rattle through score predictions for the midweek games, and then we'll give one other score prediction for the game on the weekend, the big one again. So, Morgan, Man City Wolves, just quickly, score predictions.
I am going to go 1-0 to Man City. I think Wolves will sit deep and try and stay compact and force City to target wide areas. But I think City will be too good for him. And I could see a centre-back scoring a goal again, or Cancelo potentially. I could just see a defender scoring a goal. So 1-0 City.
I'm going to go 2-1 City for that one. I think Wolves might get a goal. Burnley, Leicester. I think both teams really have to bounce back. I'm going to go 2-1 Leicester. I think Leicester will get through, but it'll be a bit of a battle, this one. But I think they might just have enough.
This is a really tough game for Leicester. Really tough, because Burnley are going to be up. Sean Dyche is going to ask for a reaction from that horrific performance against Spurs. I'm going to go with 1-1. I think Leicester will open the scoring, but I think Burnley will peg them back and make the game really difficult for them. Fancy Vardy for a goal as well.
Yeah, it'd be a good way to respond for Vardy there. Sheffield United versus Aston Villa. I'm going to go 2-0 Villa for this one.
I'm going to go 1-0 Villa. I think it'll be another clean sheet for Emi Martinez. I'd be concerned if this back four conceded a goal against Sheffield United after keeping clean sheets against who we have this season and some of the attacking forces that we've come up against this season. It all depends on team lineup for me, because if he keeps Ramsey and Nakamba in the team, I do see us potentially putting 2 or 3 past them, because Watkins will get a lot more of the ball in this game. Watkins has been heavily isolated recently, but Sheffield United will probably give us a lot more of the ball and we'll be able to do a lot more with it. I'd like to see Trezeguet come in for Bertrand Traore. I think Trez deserves a chance. I think Bertrand Traore was poor against Leeds, so I'd like to see that change, and potentially Sanson come in as well for McGinn, maybe give McGinn a rest and potentially bring Louise back into the squad or the team. But Nakamba again has been fantastic, so I think it just depends on team lineup. Be interesting to see what Dino does, really. But Sheffield United played Liverpool a day after us, so they got less prep, lost the game, of course. So it's set up for us to win it, and I'd expect us to win this game. So 1-0 Villa. Cagey, but 1-0.
Crystal Palace, Man United. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. 3-0 Man United. If we don't take the game to them and absolutely batter these lot, then I don't know where all our attacking flair has gone, because we clearly didn't show it against Chelsea, so we must be saving it up for Palace. So I think we've got to go all guns a-blazing in this one. And I'm hoping for 3-0, but more realistic, you're probably looking at 1-0 Man United, but I'll stick with 3-0.
I don't know what the score is with Wilfried Zaha. I don't know whether he's back for this game, but Crystal Palace looks so average without him, man. Like, even Eze can't carry them. But do you know what? I have a weird feeling that Palace are going to score against you lot. I'm going to go 2-1 Man United.
3-1. I could easily have said 3-1, but chuck a clean sheet was good measure.
I think this is going to be very similar to Sheffield United away, where they get an early goal completely against the run of play, and they'll try and sit back, and Bruno will probably bail you out of it. So yeah, I'll go 2-1 Man United on that one. It'd be a good game though.
Yeah, well, I hopefully for United and we win 3-0.
Yeah.
West Brom, Everton. Everton are currently 1-0 up against Southampton, so Morgan, you're probably aware of that. 2-1 Everton. Sam Allardyce obviously going back to playing against Everton, not going back, playing against Everton again. But I'm going to go 2-1 Everton. I think if Everton win tonight as well, they're on a bit of a good run against Liverpool, first time in 20 years, as we've mentioned. A win against Southampton. So yeah, I'll go 2-1 Everton.
I'm going to shock everyone. 1-0 West Brom. I feel it. I feel as though West Brom. I feel like they're going to have to ride their luck. Everton are going to have to miss a few big chances. But do you know what? West Brom are actually looking a little bit more solid defensively. They're on a bit of a good run coming into this game. I was going to say 1-1 because I was going to back West Brom for an early goal again, because they do love an early goal, and Everton's come back into it. But you know what? I'm going to be out there. 1-0 West Brom.
Decent. You put your neck on the line. I like to see it. Fulham v Tottenham. I'm going to go 3-1 Tottenham. I think Bale will continue his form.
I think Bale will continue his form, but I'm really interested in this game. I'll definitely be watching it because Fulham and Tottenham are, Fulham have been playing really well recently. They just lack a bit of that spark going forward, Fulham. But look, Tottenham have definitely got a mistake in them, no doubt, but they've also got the attacking power to really hurt Fulham in this game. And I'm pretty certain they're going to target Tosin Adebayo, a centre back, not Anderson, because I think Anderson's been really good this season. I think they're going to target the other centre back for Fulham, because I think he is suspect from what I've seen. I'm going to go 2-0 Tottenham. I think Bale and Kane will both get on the score sheet in this game. But unluckily for everyone, they ain't got him in his fantasy like they haven't got Bale in their fantasies like I have. So I'll be the only one reaping from the benefits of a Gareth Bale goal and assist.
We'll let you have that one. Liverpool v Chelsea, another big game.
0-0.
Do you know what? I was so
0-0.
tempted to say. I'm so tempted to say 0-0. I'm gonna go.
0-0.
I'll go 1-0, but do you know what? I don't even know who will win 1-0. I'll go Chelsea because they'll keep their unbeaten run going.
We will be talking about this game exactly the same as we've spoke about Chelsea Man United. Exactly. Honestly, 0-0 written all over it. Chelsea, so good defensively under Tuchel. Liverpool, terrible going forward at the moment. Salah, Firmino, Mane, out of form. Curtis Jones was realistically the only reason why they won the other night. I thought Sheffield United were quite impressive, despite losing the game. So, yeah, 0-0. Honestly, 0-0 written all over this, and you can count me to it. 0-0.
Well, yeah, wouldn't surprise me. Let's put it that way. We'll do 2 games for this weekend coming up. The 2 it'll do Chelsea v Everton score prediction. I think it's going to be a really, really interesting game, and I'm going to go 2-1 to Everton.
Oh, geez, that is out there. Do you know what? I feel another 0-0. I'm gonna be honest.
Save it. There's one coming. You could do that for the next game.
I hate to be the pooper all the time and predict 0-0, but I've been bang on with 0-0 an awful lot this season in predictions. I feel as though this is just going to be another game where both sides haven't got enough to beat one another. But this game is either going to be 0-0 or decided by 1 goal, an early goal. But I think it's going to be 0-0. Chelsea 0, Everton 0.
The final game we'll predict is arguably one of the biggest. Man City versus Man United.
0-0.
You can say 0-0 again.
Nah, this is.
Do you know what? I'm gonna go 2-1 again, and my logic behind it is United won't keep a clean sheet against City. I want to see United win, so therefore we're gonna have to score 2 goals. So I'm going 2-1 Man United.
I think
Cavani might be back as well. I don't know whether Cavani's back. So if he's back, we've got a chance.
Listen, this is all set up for Man United to absolutely stink out the Etihad and end.
If we win, the title race is on, boys. If we win, the title race is on.
End the run. 21's coming. Title race is on, and then City will go and dump someone 5-0 next week, and Man United will lose. But I'm so sorry to say this. I think they're going to destroy you lot. I think they're going to hurt you lot quite bad because I can't see you scoring a goal. They look so good defensively, and I think I don't want to be harsh here, but I think 3-0. I'm going for it. I think you lot are going to lose 3-0.
Hey, we're second, not 7th.
I'm sorry.
We're Man United, not Arsenal, lad. Arsenal lost 1-0.
I'm sorry. I look at West Ham, for example, who scored 1 at the Etihad, who are at the moment, no disrespect, 5 times better than you lot going forward. You look at you lot. You look at you lot in that Chelsea game. Oh, do you know what? I'm going to change that. Hear me on this. In big games, West Ham are miles better than you going forward. Like West Ham in big games this year.
Yeah, he's only scored once.
Have performed. Like, if I'm making this comparison, like West Ham went to the Etihad, conceded 2 goals, but defended magnificently, and got quite unlucky. And they were really good going forward. But I look at Man United and the way that you lot were void of ideas against the Chelsea side that, yes, under Tuchel have been good defensively, but a lot of them players aren't great players like Christiansen and Rudiger, and you still didn't look like in a million years breaking them lot. So against Diaz and Stones and Edison and Cancelo will probably come back in, and Zinchenko has been really good this year. Can't see you getting anywhere near the City goal, but you're there to prove me wrong. I'm going to change it from 3-0 to 2-0. I think you'll start the game positively, but once City get into their flow and once they get into their patterns of play, I think the Stockport Messi, as they call him, or the Stockport De Bruyne, Phil Foden, I think is going to show his blue Man City veins and come back into the team and bag a goal. And I fancy Riyad Mahrez to in from the left-hand side and curl in a screamer as well.
All I'm going to say is, like, it's not the worst thing I've heard in the world. City going to batter us. I mean, they're also on a 20. They're also on a 20-game unbeaten run. So it's not surprising. But look, we've got to beat a Big Six team this season. There's no way we're going to go this whole season.
It'd be so Ollie to win this game. It's so Ollie to win this game. Like,
he loves the big game
so
usually
Ollie.
Season, but this season he don't want it anymore.
So Ollie to win this game.
If we took Man United this season and merged it with Man United last season, we win the league.
I think you lot as a fan base will be so much more angrier if you win this game, because you'll all be like, why on earth have we not played like this against sides
Do you know
that
what?
are 10 times worse than this in big games?
Do you know what? Just Ollie, if you're watching, because I know you're an avid viewer, just go for it. Like, just go for it. If we lose 3-0, we lose 3-0 at this point. Like, just go for it.
And tell Bruno to stop moaning. Just go for it.
Play Van der Beek and Bruno and we'll win the game. And on that note, we better call it a quit before I smash up my computer.
Quick question. Who is the worst transfer signing? Put it in the comments below.
Yeah.
Willian to Arsenal or Van der Beek to Manchester United?
Van der Beek's not in the question.
Which is the worst transfer? And to be honest with you, Willian, after he stepped up in the Europa League and stepped up this weekend, Van der Beek, for me, has been the worst signing of the Premier League this season. Hands down.
Van der Beek's not even in that question because he hasn't been given a fair chance. So
he has, he as a player, he hasn't been given a fair chance. But in terms of the actual move working out and the game time and everything and the whole antics and negativity around him as a player not playing for Manchester United, I mean, considering he was your alternative to Grealish, it's quite embarrassing, really, isn't it?
I wouldn't call it embarrassing. He's a quality player, but obviously Grealish is he's on an absolute mad one, to be honest. But that's because he's getting consistent games and is Jack Grealish. I mean, you can't describe Jack Grealish without saying he's Jack Grealish.
The thing that confuses me though about Van der Beek is that if he was so good in training, like so good, Ollie physically has to put him in the team. If he's doing what he's doing in training and performing like Ollie seems to say that he is, then I side with all of you lot as to why does he not play? Like,
because do you know why not play? Because you said earlier the one word, and this is why Van der Beek doesn't play. Favourites. That's why McFred plays.
Literally.
I'm sorry, Van der Beek is not a number 10, so don't play him where Bruno plays. Play him with Bruno and Van der Beek as an 8, box-to-box midfielder, because he can do defensively what McTominay and Fred can do, but he's 10 times better going forward. And that's it. That's the case.
It makes you question as well. Like, if reporters are having to ask him whether Pogba, Bruno, and Van der Beek can play in the same midfield, it makes you question the actual transfer itself, because if it was so evident as to why you've brought Donny Van der Beek in against the system and the philosophy of the team and how you want to move forward, they wouldn't even need to ask that question. It'd be quite blatantly obvious what he's come in for.
Do you know what the thing is? I think the reason he was brought in is not to start. And I'm going to be honest, when Pogba's back, he probably doesn't start. But he was brought in because if you look at our midfield last season, we had before Bruno, but even with Bruno, it was Bruno. Bruno get injured, and let's face it, he hasn't been injured at United. If he gets injured, you had Lingard and Pereira as an attacking midfielder. That is not good enough for Man United. So you needed a player in there like Grealish or like Van der Beek, who is a good backup but can also play in other positions like box-to-box midfielder. But the thing is now is Pogba's injured and Van der Beek stuck to the bench. What does he do? What does the man have to do? What does he have to do? Like, Donny van der Beek played in the 10 against Liverpool. And we both said he was a little bit underwhelming in that game in terms of movement and, showing for the ball. Firstly, he's a different player to Bruno. Secondly, on the pitch, when he was on the pitch, we scored twice. We scored 2 goals when he was on the pitch. Call him bad, whatever. We scored more goals when we were on that pitch than we have in any other Big Six game. So, I don't get it.
Just lastly on it, like Villa have bought in Morgan Sanson, and it's obvious already why we've bought him in. Like, he's a player that's tough, tenacious, full of energy, really good technical ability, quick feet. So in that 10, he is going to be a cracking player for us. And I imagine that, Ross Barkley, he's probably sitting there thinking, Jesus Christ, like I've got to step up here because Sanson's come in. And like I said to you on a previous show, I think Sanson has been brought in to replace Ross Barkley when the loan ends. Because I don't think we permanently want him unless he steps up. But I look at Sanson and, it's quite clear that he's come in, he fits the system, and he's going to do a stellar job for Villa. And he's already played more minutes than Van der Beek, or near enough as many minutes as Van der Beek, and he's been here since January. So, and the end of January, he didn't even come in at the start. He was like the last week or two. So, Van der Beek is what is going to split United's fan base even further into Ollie in and Ollie out. And I actually think that whole situation could cost him his job, because people are already asking serious questions of him now. But I tell you something, if Van der Beek doesn't play much and these results don't get better, I tell you something, Ollie out is going to be screaming from the rooftops at the end of this season.
Van der Beek has come from Ajax, which, as we're all aware, is one of the best passing academies and teams in world football. He's a top quality player. United fans know he's a top quality player. United fans are screaming for him to play with Bruno because that's when he's performed best, with him, not instead of him. I think the one time I can remember Pogba, Bruno, and Van der Beek playing in the same team was against RB Leipzig at home, and we won 5-0. And I know you could say, but it was 1-0 for ages, and then you got lucky with 4 goals at the end. We won 5-0. Who cares?
Yeah.
I don't understand why I don't play more. But look, we'll end it there because I could be here all day speaking about Van der Beek. And I can't wait for Van der Beek to become the greatest Premier League midfielder of all time. So join me on that ride.
I can't wait.
Join me on the ride because it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. But thank you for watching if you've stayed to the end. Make sure to obviously like the video, subscribe. We are trying to hit 50 subs. Share the video as well. And follow the Twitter, SNS Football Podcast or SNS Football Pod 1. And thank you for watching again. We appreciate your time. We'll be back again next week for another roundup of the results and the fixtures and all the news and all the drama. We'll be back next week. Morgan, appreciate you joining me again. So thanks for that, mate. And have a good week. We'll see you next week, guys. Thanks for watching. In a bit.